Hello, good morning, good day, good to hear. How you guys doing? I hope you're doing well out there. Hope you're having a blessed day, a blessed evening or afternoon. What's going on with you? Well, today I'm going to talk about something that's very, very controversial, but it's something that is going to happen here pretty soon, and that is illegal immigration. I'm going to play a few videos and I'll get back with my commentary.
Per new hire, and we don't have any paper.
What's going on, everybody? If you're seeing this page, that means the official Torn Your Rain Reloaded merch store is now available. To get access to this store, make sure you go ahead and click the store tab on my YouTube channel. From there, you will be able to see all the merch that is available. We have mugs, shirts, hoodies, joggers, and so much more to come. All original designs made by yours truly, Torn Your Rain Reloaded. Now go ahead and get your merch today, and you can feel nothing in style. When I had initially started to do this video, I only intended to come on here to do one topic. But then I don't know what compelled me to go onto Google and type in these words, illegal immigrant arrest New York, because I couldn't figure out for the life of me what the story was, because I forgot, but I just knew the face. Only to find out I actually DM'd the story to myself, but I forgot that I did. And it's a good thing that I went and Googled it instead, because one story was going to be, for me to talk about, one story led into three stories that I'm going to talk about. One of them, if y'all watch TVA, he spoke about it on one of his recent broadcasts. Another one just happened like in the last few hours of me recording this video, and another one happened like 2 weeks ago. Of course, by the time y'all see this video, it'll been over 3 weeks ago, probably a little bit more. But they all came out of New York, and they all deal with the migrants or the illegal aliens up there. And I had to range them. I said, you know what, I'm not even going to talk about just one story and then another one and another one in 3 separate videos. I said I'm going to blitz this thing and talk about all 3 of them in one video. So I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I'm just giving y'all that little disclaimer right here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and tackle the first story. That's the more lighter story, I should say. That was posted September 2nd, 2023. Migrant woman arrested after slapping NYPD cop trying to confiscate her unregistered motorbike outside of a New York City shelter. A migrant woman was arrested after she slapped an NYPD officer who was attempting to confiscate her unregistered motorbike in front of a Manhattan shelter for asylum seekers earlier this week. The arrest came as several people were caught on camera tussling with cops as they tried to conduct a scooter crackdown Thursday at West 71st Street and Broadway on the Upper West Side, steps from the Stratford Arms Hotel, which is being used as a migrant shelter according to police. Get back, and officers heard warning the crowd in the clip before ushering a young man away from the bike onto the sidewalk as he warned, "Bro, you're going to get arrested." Babaya Rodriguez, age 20, was charged with resisting arrest, obstruction of governmental administration, and harassment after she hit an officer with an open hand around 10:30 p.m. according to police. She had been arrested in July for felony assault in connection with an attack on her boyfriend in a Bronx apartment and was currently being housed at the Stratford Arms, police said. The incident and arrest was first reported by West Side Rag. Some Stratford Arms neighbors, led by Joe Germanata, the father of pop singer Lady Gaga, have voiced concerns about its new residents to city officials, claiming residents have inundated the area with trash, drugs, and public disturbances. The worst part's at night, the noise. It starts about 10 o'clock and it'll go until 4 in the morning. Playing music and racing their motocross and motorbikes up and down the streets, Germanata, age 66, told the Post last month. Thursday's scooter crackdown came after community complaints, according to police. The NYPD confiscated 4 mopeds, 1 motorcycle, and 1 scooter, in addition to 9 bicycles that NYPD said were illegally chained to a pole, West Side Rag reported. So that was the first story, and like I said, that one is pretty light compared to what it is I'm going to start getting into after this one. But that's bad enough because, again, small problems lead to bigger problems. And I thought it was interesting that they interviewed Lady Gaga's father, so he's still in the area, in that region. Maybe he doesn't want to leave, but I'm gonna be honest. if my daughter was Lady Gaga, I'm getting up out of there. I'm finding a way to get up out of there. But now, as you can see, it's becoming an inconvenience to other people. You know, at first, you know, they had to do the testing ground with black folks, but now it's starting to spread into other regions that, in areas that doesn't have a lot of black people there. So that was the first story. Now this next story, if y'all watch TBA, he actually talked about it on one of his broadcasts a couple weeks ago when he was talking about like various forms of what we consider PC on PC crime or PC on PC brawls that mainstream media doesn't like to talk about. He actually highlighted this story in the second half of that. But if this is your first time catching this, then you know, so be it. And if you live in New York, you probably already heard about it. So this one too was also posted on September 2nd, 2023, just like the previous story I just did, where it says a migrant was arrested 6 times for 14 crimes in just the first 2 months, in their first 2 months of being in New York. He is the wanted poster boy for the migrant crisis. A man who arrived in New York City 2 months ago from Venezuela has randomly attacked at least 3 strangers and 2 cops and gotten arrested and released 6 times on 14 different charges, police and sources said. That's quite an opener for somebody who, that whole paragraph, and it's small, that's a lot. 6 times released, gotten arrested and released 6 times on 14 different charges. That is insane. Daniel Hernandez Martinez, age 29, arrived on June 27th and allegedly committed his first crime the following day. He's been wreaking havoc, a cop with more than 20 years on the job said. This is not an isolated incident. These migrants are getting arrested quite often here, and we really don't know who they are. They really don't have ID, which means they don't have ID. They're not being vetted properly, which is something I've said before. I said, y'all are just letting a criminal element just flourish and just come right into the establishment like it's nothing. No vetting process, no identification, nothing. You're just letting them come right on in and nest and get acquainted. And this guy didn't even get properly acquainted after being here a day. He couldn't wait to go out and commit some criminal acts. He didn't even get his feet wet in the new town, and he's already like having a criminal record, which lets you know this is probably what he was like back in his homeland in Venezuela. He said they're not being vetted properly, but some of them are committing some of the most violent crimes here. And the thing is, it's only going to get worse, because where he will slack off, which it doesn't sound like he will, others will pick up. Martinez's alleged crime spree started at a Costco at 976 3rd Avenue in Brooklyn. Martinez stole a jar of Nutella, slippers, sneakers, hats, Gillette razor blades, and Dove body wash, cops said. He was charged with petty larceny and released on his own recognizance. On July 6th, he allegedly hit a Dwayne Reed in Columbus Circle in Manhattan, this time stealing a toolkit. The next day, he escalated from shoplifting to assault. A security guard at Dwayne Reed on West 35th in Manhattan tried to stop him from pilfering a bag of chips and toothpaste. He pulled out a large knife and advanced toward an undercover officer while yelling unintelligibly, court documents show, which basically, like Jason Black said in his video, he was most likely yelling in Spanish. Or Portuguese, I would assume. Martinez was charged with menacing this time, but again released on his own recognizance because the charge wasn't bail eligible. See, they keep doing this over and over again. He committed crime, which when you think about it, when he was released after that first or second time, he ended up escalating his crime like the article suggested, because he knows that he's constantly getting away with it. Like I said before, it's going to take for him to actually take someone out, to delete somebody, for them to actually do something. And it shouldn't get to that point, but it's going to be at that point when they're going to say, oh, light bulb moment, let's go ahead and deal with the situation at hand. 3 weeks later, on July 31st, he attacked Jeffrey Braddock, age 52, out of the blue with a bike tire in front of the Row Hotel, a migrant shelter in Times Square, according to authorities. Now, isn't that interesting? Because in the last story, wasn't that incident happening near the shelter or near a shelter? I'm not sure if it was the same one, but it was again near a shelter, and it dealt with, again, a bike. Braddock, an independent journalist who said he was there to document the migrant influx, had previously interviewed Martinez and was baffled about why he was attacked. I did a nice interview with the guy, Sid Braddock, who posts his videos about the migrants on social media and has nearly 1 million likes and 48,000 followers on TikTok. He hit me with the bike tire and I called police, Braddock said. Then he jumped the dumpster and a really fit cop ran after him, but the guy got away. Martinez was arrested about a week later when Braddock, who had filed a criminal complaint, spotted him in front of the hotel again and notified cops stationed there. On August 21st, he violently attacked a woman in Midtown, cops said. He grabbed a stranger by the hair, dragged her across the floor, and kicked her, and smashed her phone on West 45th Street around 1 a.m., court documents show. He was charged with menacing, assault, criminal mischief, and weapon possession and placed on supervised release. 3 days later, he was arrested for menacing with a weapon and harassment after threatening a stranger with a chain in front of 701 8th Avenue, cops said. He was again released with no bail. Then 4 days later, on August 28th, he was arrested for using a large metal pipe to break locks to steal bicycles in Times Square. Cops charged him with petty larceny, criminal mischief, and possession of stolen property and burglary tools. Keep it in mind, he's doing all these criminal things. He's getting all these charges. He's constantly getting released. Not once were any of these charges labeled as a felony charge, which would actually be something to hold him with. These are basically all labeled down to what I believe or see as misdemeanors, when they definitely shouldn't be. Like this guy has a long rap sheet and he hasn't even been here 6 months. He requested medical attention and was taken to Beth Israel Hospital. While there, he assaulted a police officer who was trying to change his handcuffs, kicking him twice in the shins and stomping on his foot. He was charged with assaulting a police officer. Martinez has been arrested 5 times in less than 2 months for charges of harm nearly every time. ADA Jared Hotchkiss wrote in a bail application. He also pointed out that Martinez has an open case in Brooklyn, a 6th arrest for petty larceny on which 3 bench warrants have been issued because he didn't show up for court. Prosecutors requested $10,000 bail and $10,000 bond for the cop assault case, but the judge set the bail at $5,000 and Martinez was sent to Rikers Island. Well, it looks like they finally sent him to a place where he can't really maneuver the way he wants, but I would never lower that bail. Honestly, with someone like him, with the record he's already built in already, he wouldn't have a bail anyway. He would just stay there until he has to be seen in a courtroom. The U.S. State Department, Venezuelan Consulate, and Homeland Security didn't answer questions about Martinez's criminal history in Venezuela and how he made it into the U.S. He probably got in there the same way everybody else did. I mean, he probably just hopped on a boat and swam over here and slithered his way in just like everybody else. But again, peep the pattern here. We've already did once the first story, like that was real light. This one was a little bit more heavy, but notice the criminal element there. And why I put the thumbnail up the way that I did and the way I titled this video, because New York literally has a new criminal class on their hands, and they're not black people the way that they want it to be or how they wanted it to be at one particular time. And one thing I'm going to hate is when they're going to continue to try to do that black and brown thing, and what's going to end up happening is they're going to try to lump us in like they've been doing with that criminal element there. That's why I said don't do the black and brown thing, and do not do the POC thing, because that's what they're literally going to try to do when it comes to them. But if you thought that one was bad, this one might take the cake. And it's crazy because that last one had a lot of stuff going on, but this one is probably one of the worst ones because this person committed a major cardinal sin, and that is him violating this woman. And not only doing that, but he was rephrase that. He was wanted by ICE but was released under this controversial New York bail reform, and then he got arrested again for violating somebody. That's literally what it says. Migrant wanted by ICE, released under controversial New York bail reform, arrested again on a violation charge. And I think his name is Cruz Garcia. Now, this story was posted August 17, 2023. I want y'all to keep this in mind. These 3 stories that y'all are hearing right now, many of you did not hear about it. Y'all might have heard about the second one, but I guarantee you probably didn't hear about this one or the first one. And all of them were posted within a month's time. And all from the same state, might I add. Prosecutors say an illegal immigrant who was wanted by ICE and released under New York's controversial bail reform laws has been arrested again, this time for the alleged brutal violation of a woman. Cruz Garcia, age 43, was indicted for first-degree violations, first-degree unlawful imprisonment, and second-degree strangulation by a Delaware County grand jury on August 10th. In first announcing the indictment Tuesday, Delaware County Acting District Attorney Sean Smith said Garcia is accused of strangling the victim until the point that she nearly lost consciousness on July 25th. Garcia is accused of unlawfully restraining the victim under circumstances that expose her to serious physical injury. Prosecutors say he forcibly engaged in sexual intercourse without the victim's consent by means of forcible compulsion, and the victim was transported to the hospital emergency room because of the injuries she sustained. The alleged attack unfolded about a month and a half after Garcia had been released in a case where he had been charged with separate unrelated felonies from Orange County. Garcia was arraigned on June 12th in Orange County Court on charges including felony DWI and first-degree aggravated unlicensed operation. Unfortunately, due to New York State's bail reform laws, the defendant was automatically released from custody on those felony charges. This defendant lacks any legal status in the United States, and he was wanted by the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, due to an unrelated criminal conviction prior to the Orange County indictment or this indictment. Garcia is currently in ICE custody in Batavia, New York, awaiting deportation hearings. That's the first time we've heard in these last two stories of the words deportation, and hopefully the deportation hearings for this man stick, where to the point where they can send him back. What we are seeing is a preventable tragedy precipitated by Albany's bail reform laws and failed migrant policy, Representative Mark Molinaro of New York said. We need to stop accepting failed policies that put families in our communities in danger. There is nothing controversial or partisan about prioritizing the safety of upstate New Yorkers. I once again call for bipartisan action. This case clearly highlights the dual failures of Albany and Washington. Republican State Senator Peter Oberacker added in a statement. The absence of any practical immigration policy, coupled with the proven debacle known as bail reform, is endangering public life on a daily basis. Dangerous criminals continue to receive a pass here in New York State, and our police and prosecutors are forced to continually fight upstream to do their jobs. As a sponsor and co-sponsor of several bills to end bail reform in New York, I will continue to advocate for a return to sanity and safety of our streets. Smith commended New York State Police for their investigation into the case, as well as the Safe Against Violence staff for supporting the victim. The prosecutor vowed to make sure Garcia is held accountable for the alleged crimes before any deportation proceedings are completed. New York enacted bail reform measures in 2020 under former Governor Andrew Cuomo. In her state of the state address, Governor Kathy Hochul, who was Cuomo's lieutenant governor, acknowledged the controversy surrounding bail reform while standing by its righteous goals and declaring the size of someone's bank account should not determine whether they sit in jail or return home before they even have been convicted of a crime. And now it's biting them in the ass now, because look at what you just let back out onto the street. Look.
I'm cut in right quick. Remember what Trump was saying? This is what he was talking about. And I'm not a Trump supporter, but this is what he was talking about. But people like, no, oh, he's being racist and things. This is what he was talking about when you leave somebody to the country.
What came over here, and then this man literally was wanted by ICE. I don't know how long he was here before ICE was on his radar, or on his bumper, but on ICE's radar. But I don't think he was here this long. He gets out under this bail reform law, and then he does what? He goes and violates this woman. See what I tell you? It's not enough for them to do what is considered a low-level crime, and then all of a sudden what happens is they get out and they allow them to get back into society to quote-unquote reform themselves, and then they commit these kinds of acts. There's no reforming this dude.
No.
Whatever he was doing before he got over here, it's a reason why he left there. He came over here to continue his acts of criminality.
Do your research
what
on
he was
Venezuela.
doing back at home, he brought the bad habit over here. Bail reform is not the primary driver of a national crime wave created by a convergence of factors, including the pandemic. Bail reform law is written now, leaves room for improvement. Like I said, there's no reforming or improving that. This guy literally has told you with his actions what he's all about. This week, Hochul's attorney sent a 12-page letter ripping New York City Mayor Eric Adams' response to the arrival of some 100,000 migrants so far. Erie County in western New York has stopped accepting migrants under New York City's resettlement program after 2 migrants were arrested on sexual abuse and violation charges. So, y'all are seeing a pattern here. And you want to know what's so crazy? I have my issues with 45, but he made a very valid statement when he was in office, and it had everything to do with what this guy did. And you can even say with the previous guy as well. He said, if you let them come over, and I'm just paraphrasing, he's like, if you let them come over here, you're bringing over a criminal element. That's literally what you're bringing over here. You have no idea what you're about to allow to come into this establishment.
You know you should be planning for the future, but savings account.
Yeah.
Will you vote for politicians who support illegal immigration? Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
Now you just saw what happened.
Joe Biden said that he would not support the building of 1 foot of border wall.
Do you believe the border wall works?
No. A border wall, the money was appropriated for the border wall. I tried to get them to reappropriate it, to redirect that money. They didn't, they wouldn't. And in the meantime, there's nothing under the law other than they have to use the money for what was appropriated. I can't stop that.
Do you believe the border wall works?
No.
Well, are you willing to tear that wall down?
There will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration.
In our own hemisphere, somewhere between 20 and 25 million people on the move.
The problem in the United States is that the Democrat Party, but not solely the Democrat Party, because there are many Republicans who are doing the same thing and have done the same thing for decades, they do not want to allocate the money to train people in America, citizens of this country, the youth in this country, to carry out the type of work that needs to be carried out in this country. They would rather have the labor done cheaply. This is on behalf of big business. Big business has been a part of this whole illegal immigration scenario. Again, I say, it's not just the Democrats, but it's primarily the Democrats. We hear Joe Biden, not 1 foot of border wall will be built. We see some of the Republicans who have been sitting on their laurels, just sitting back, allowing this. We hear the words of Chuck Schumer, Senator of New York, who is encouraging illegal immigration, who is telling you the lie that we need people, we need workers. You've got enough workers in this country. You just need to get off your asses and train them and not charge them an exorbitant amount to be educated to do and carry out these job skills. You need to do that. These politicians, unfortunately, most of them have betrayed you. They've betrayed generations and generations here in America.
Exactly.
We are now facing around the world the largest migration challenge of all times.
Well, it's on fire.
Also, the Roman Catholic Church needs to stop aiding and abetting this illegal immigration into this country from across the border from Mexico. They need to stop this. Bottom line.
It's uncontrolled mass migration. It's uncontrolled drug smuggling into the United States.
And now lastly, some of you, many of you, if you're African American, You voted for people like Joe Biden.
Exactly.
You vote for people like
Exactly.
Chuck Schumer. You did it. You're
You did it.
responsible for what
Exactly.
you're saying.
And as I pointed out before, the Biden administration has placed 300,000 children with sponsors in the United States, and they cannot tell you where they are, whether they're going to school, whether they're being abused or neglected, trafficked for sex, or forced into involuntary labor.
Your children are not getting jobs. That's right. They are putting illegal immigrants ahead of your own. Stop your stubbornness. Wake up. Do the right thing. Some of you hate Trump so badly. You hate him so much that you don't see straight.
Exactly.
You need to open your eyes. T West.
Buckeye Health Plan Medicaid
Exactly.
is built around you. Buckeye offers benefits like medical, vision, and dental with...
The United States of America is a nation renowned for its ideals of freedom, equality, and opportunity. In the War of Independence, the United States claimed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. Words that spark revolution and look great on paper. But in reality, freedom is different for everyone, especially if you're black. The U.S., often seen as a land of freedom and opportunity, has a complicated history when it comes to racial equality. Black Americans have played a significant role in shaping the nation's culture and society, but they've also endured centuries of hardship and inequality. From the dark period of enslavement, spanning nearly 2.5 centuries, when millions of Africans were forcibly brought to American shores, to the monumental moment of emancipation following the Civil War, the journey of Black Americans has been marked by unwavering resilience in the face of unimaginable adversity. The struggle for civil rights, epitomized by the historic achievements of the civil rights movement and the acts of Martin Luther King Jr., showcased the indomitable spirit of Black individuals and their enduring commitment to
You did
achieving
research on him.
equality.
He was a Republican.
However, the stark reality remains that Black Americans are fitted to a status of second-class citizenship, subjecting them to violence, discrimination, disenfranchisement, and deep-rooted
And
social
Lyndon B.
and
Johnson at
economic
that time that
disparities.
Bush voted
In this
for, he was a
video,
Democrat.
we share the real
Behind
experience
Kennedy.
of what it is to
It
live
was
in
the
the
same
land of the
party.
free as a Black individual. Also, as a way of supporting our efforts, hit the like button of the video, share, and subscribe to help the channel grow. Your support means a lot to us. In 2021, South Carolina Republican Senator Tim Scott shocked many people when, in response to President Joe Biden's congressional address, he stated that America is not a racist country. He admitted that he himself had experienced the pain of discrimination and noted, "I know what it feels like to be pulled over for no reason, to be followed around a store while I'm shopping." When asked on ABC's Good Morning America the following day, Vice President Kamala Harris seemed to agree with Scott when she said, "I don't think America is a racist country." Yet immediately following this sentence, she quickly pointed out, "But we also do have to speak truth about the history of racism in our country and its existence today." When a person critiques America for the racism that is deeply embedded in our social institutions, some feel they are being personally attacked. This is because deep down, they realize that they benefit from unearned assets associated with whiteness. Scott, Harris, and Biden recognize this and try to balance these varying perspectives as they worry about voters nationally and in a state like South Carolina. The politics of racism in the United States persistently cast a shadow over the stark and often challenging reality faced by Black people in the country. While progress has undoubtedly been made in the fight for racial equality, the deeply ingrained structures of racism continue to shape the experiences and opportunities of Black individuals, particularly Black men. Despite strides toward civil rights and the dismantling of overtly racist laws, systemic racism persists within American society, perpetuating a cycle of inequality and injustice. Studies on what predicts who believes they are middle class have shown the depths of racism. For education, income, and occupational prestige, black people are less likely to identify as middle class compared to whites with comparable levels of these socioeconomic outcomes. Why? It is because social class is not just about what a person looks like on paper, but how people experience social class in everyday life and the deference that one receives for their socioeconomic status. Black people are less likely to get that deference, while white people are often afforded more. It is so commonplace for white people that some cannot fathom living without it. This is because many white people, particularly white people with lower levels of education and income, realize that whiteness comes with a premium that extends beyond economics to include cultural and social capital. As President Lyndon Johnson said, "If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you." Politicians like Harrison Scott's comments are puzzling at a broader level as well, considering how much of a collective memory their experiences with racism are.
And he was a Democrat
Harris
when he was
reliving
living.
her systemic experiences with busing, and Scott recounting the nearly 20 times he has been pulled over by police, where being an elected official potentially made the interaction worse. These stories acknowledge that life is different if you are black, and unfortunately, systemic racism seems to ripple through our social institutions and into our daily social interactions, whether in Congress or at a coffee shop down the street from the Capitol. These types of experiences, racialized cuts, and hurdles have a cumulative effect on health. Sociologists Pam Jackson and Jason Cummings research documents that middle-class blacks have worse health profiles than working-class whites. They attribute this difference to the daily racialized trauma experienced in predominantly white environments like work and neighborhood settings. Systemically, we know that black people compared to whites are more likely to attend schools with less funding per student, less likely to obtain a job because of our black-sounding name, or even when attending an Ivy League university, less likely to obtain a home loan, even when having the same credit score, have their homes appraised for equitable value, more likely to experience pregnancy complications and maternal mortality, and more likely to have contact with police and the criminal justice system. This isn't just speculation. In the case of getting jobs as a black person, there have been studies to prove that black people are racially vetted. To test whether employers might discriminate against job applicants with black-sounding names, Associate Professors of Economics Marianne Bertrand with Chicago's Graduate School of Business and Sendil Mullainathan with MIT conducted an elaborate experiment. They fabricated resumes for multiple phantom job seekers with common black and white names. The professors then sent out nearly 5,000 resumes for 1,300 job openings advertised in newspapers and on online job sites throughout Chicago and Boston. Most job openings for which the researchers sent resumes were administrative, sales, clerical, and managerial positions. Bertrand and Mullainathan randomly assigned the applicants' names common to either black men, black women, white men, or white women, and were careful not to send identical resumes to the same employer. Bertrand and Mullainathan then
Here at the Y, we're reps that you put in.
Mullainathan then tracked which of their applicants were called for job interviews. Bertrand said that more resumes were sent to Chicago area employers simply because it is the larger metropolitan area, but added that the rate for interview requests was virtually identical between the two cities. The results were a bit disturbing. Applicants with white-sounding names were 50% more likely to be contacted for job interviews than those with typical black names. There were no significant differences between the rates at which men and women were contacted. The results indicate large racial differences in callback rates to a phone line with a voicemail box attached and a message recorded by someone of the appropriate race and gender. Job applicants with white names needed to send about 10 resumes to get one callback. Those with African American names needed to send around 15 resumes to get one callback. This would suggest either employer prejudice or employer perception that race signals lower productivity. While this study was done in 2003, new research finds that employers aren't treating identical resumes equally, and job applicants with black names still less likely to get interviews. In 2021, researchers from the University of California, Berkeley, and the University of Chicago sent 83,000 fictitious applications for entry-level job postings to 108 Fortune 500 employers using randomly assigned and racially distinctive names. They found that applicants with black names were called back 10% fewer times across the board, and even less when it came to specific companies, despite having comparable applications to their white counterparts. It's not just getting a job that is difficult. Climbing up the corporate ladder is near impossible for black people. White employees often have a higher likelihood of receiving promotions and being considered for leadership roles within organizations. Being qualified for a job in the first place is also a hurdle. Black people do not get the best when it comes to education. Unequal access to quality education due to chronic underfunding is a stark reality for many black students in the United States, and numerous real-life instances illustrate the depth of this problem. In many cases, schools in predominantly black communities receive significantly less funding than schools in predominantly white areas. This funding gap can result in a lack of essential resources. For instance, schools in low-income neighborhoods may struggle to provide up-to-date textbooks, educational technology, or extracurricular programs that are commonplace in wealthier school districts. The disparities in school infrastructure are palpable. In some predominantly black communities, students attend schools with deteriorating buildings, outdated facilities, and inadequate heating or cooling systems. For example, in Detroit, Michigan, students have attended schools with crumbling walls, leaking roofs, and classrooms without proper ventilation. In some instances, underfunded schools in black communities face closure due to budget constraints or low performance. When these schools close, students are often forced to commute long distances to access education, disrupting their learning and daily routines. It's just not being able to attend quality schools, but the tests are also a trap for black students. Standardized tests can be culturally biased, disadvantaging black students who may not have access to test preparation resources. In the U.S., standardized tests like the SAT and ACT tests like the SAT and ACT have been criticized for perpetuating racial disparities in college admissions, as they may not accurately reflect the potential of black students. Despite the criticisms, nothing has been done, and the disparities still remain. Systemic racism inhibits, rather than prohibits like in the past, people's ability to actualize all aspects of the American dream. This occurs even for highly educated black people with high incomes and no criminal record. In fact, research documents that white people with a criminal record are more likely to get called back for a job than black people without one. Research documents that hard work, or lack thereof, intellect or criminality do not explain these outcomes. Instead, it is the racism embedded deeply within our social institutions' policies, rules, regulations, and laws that segment people's experiences along racial lines. It is the same for gender. Women can achieve, but have a much harder time doing so. If not, America would have had a woman vice president and Speaker of the House sitting behind the president long before 2021. What people do not seem to realize is that being upwardly mobile does not negate encountering racist hurdles on the pathway to success. Our current system is set up for some people to have to jump over hurdles to succeed, while others get to simply run to the finish line without those same racial hurdles. Rather, it is about whether the pathways to success are equitable. This is what America says it is: an equitable democracy. People are pushing for America to reach its true ideals, and the only way this can properly occur is acknowledging the systemic barriers that prevent us from getting there. Moreover, it is not that racial progress has not been made. It is that the United States has yet to make enough progress. In this regard, comments of top elected officials are disappointing yet predictable. Black people who succeed often walk on pins and needles because they realize that their success, and more so maintaining it, is precarious. As a result, some black people aim to make white people feel comfortable. Many of us are mostly socialized to do so. It is often a survival strategy for our lives during police encounters or economic survival in boardrooms. Some of us who succeed may experience survivor's remorse because we are some of the few to make it. We actually embody the American dream and become the in-person example to people who do not want to admit that systemic racism exists. We may even convince ourselves that racism is more prominent on the individual level than the institutional level. We simultaneously represent racial progress, but are also most likely to be subjugated to racial discrimination because of the predominantly white spaces we are embedded within. We experience a chronic form of double consciousness, and admitting as such can often lead us to being conscious of the slow death we often experience through the cumulative racist cuts and hurdles we encounter. The American dream, being achievable for a few, does not absolve the system and an imperfect union, even when some of those successful people try to rationalize systemic racism away. In most instances, when black parents worry about their straight-A students' traffic encounters with the police more than they do a potential accident, this is because of experiences with racism. It is well known that black people are more likely to experience racial profiling and confrontations with law enforcement, sometimes resulting in tragic instances of police violence. The fear and anxiety associated with these encounters can have a profound psychological toll. When a black couple is about to have a baby and has to think consciously about what hospital to deliver in so they can obtain equitable care, this is racism. Once again, we know that black women in the United States face alarming disparities when it comes to maternal mortality rates, making them more likely to die during childbirth or due to postpartum issues compared to their white counterparts. This disturbing trend highlights the complex intersection of racial disparities, healthcare inequalities, and systemic biases within the healthcare system. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related complications. Several factors contribute to the heightened risk of maternal mortality among black women. One key factor is systemic racism within the healthcare system. Studies have shown that black women are often subject to bias, discrimination, and stereotypes when seeking healthcare, which can lead to delayed or inadequate medical attention. Other aspects of racism are when a black parent worries about their child attending a prestigious university outside of an urban area. This is often because of the racism they worry about them encountering driving to the school, and even once physically on the campus of the school. And even more urban universities are not absolved from racism, throwing another wrench into the belief that higher education is the great equalizer. A new paper suggests that African American graduates from elite institutions do only as well in getting jobs as white candidates from less selective institutions. The study, published in the journal Social Forces, shows that while a degree from an elite university improves all applicants' chances at finding a well-paid job, the ease with which those jobs are obtained is not equal for black and white students, even when they both graduate from an institution institutions such as Harvard University. A white candidate with a degree from a highly selective university, the paper suggests, receives an employer response for every 6 resumes he or she submits. A black candidate receives a response for every 8. White candidates with degrees from less selective universities can expect to get a response every 9 resumes, while equally qualified black candidates need to submit 15. The researcher, Gaddis, gave the candidates names that were likely to signal to potential employers what their races were. Black male applicants were named Jalen, Lamar, and Daquan. Black female applicants were named Nia, Ebony, and Shanice. White male applicants were named Caleb, Charlie, and Ronnie. And white female applicants were named Aubrey, Erica, and Leslie. White job applicants with a degree from an elite university had the highest response rate at 18%. Black candidates with a degree from an elite university had a response rate of 13%, with white candidates holding a degree from a less selective university following closely at nearly 12%.
Now you see what Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about? But I just want to go on here, but I want to show you this right quick.
Want to discover Ohio liquor?
Now you see what he's
Chances are you
talking
already
about?
have. Because this moment, brought to you by Ohio.
Tell you, my friend, racism is transformed. It transformed itself from decade to decade. That's why I did that. Decade to decade. It transforms. It weaves. It hides itself. You're never going to get away from it until you build your own.
Ladies and gentlemen, over the last few weeks, we've really been hearing some horror stories coming out of New York and Chicago in regards to the illegal immigrants. Well, today, a federal judge declared DACA as illegal. It's a real controversial subject. A lot of people don't care for the illegals because the politicians will use them as an excuse to ignore the black community. They've been doing that forever. So, let's get into it. While a federal judge on Wednesday declared illegal a revised version of a federal policy that prevents the deportation of hundreds of thousands of immigrants brought to the U.S. as children, he declined to order an immediate end to the program and the protections it offers to recipients. A U.S. District Judge Andrew Hannon agreed with Texas and 8 other states suing to stop DACA. The judge's ruling was ultimately expected to be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, sending the program's fate before the High Court for a 3rd time. So, the DACA recipients, they are really hanging in the balance, not just the recipients, but their families. And so the court has expressed concerns about the legality of the program for some time. Hannon wrote in his 40-page ruling, the solution for these deficiencies lie in the legislature, the executive or judicial branches, Congress, for any number of reasons, has decided not to pass DACA-like legislation. The executive branch cannot usurp the power bestowed on Congress by the Constitution, even to fill a void. Hannon's order extended the current injunction that had been in place against DACA, which barred the government from approving any new applications, but left the program intact for recipients during the ongoing legal review. So they're still fighting over it, but this federal judge said the program is illegal. Y'all, you can best believe the Democrats are going to fight real hard for this. They don't fight hard for us, but they'll definitely fight for this.
You heard Chuck Schumer.
So the judge also declined a request by the states to order a program end within 2 years. They want the program to end within 2 years. So he is saying his order does not require the federal government to take any actions against DACA recipients, known as Dreamers. So the judge has consistently erred in resolving both of these issues. Ruling today is more of the same flawed analysis. We look forward to continuing to defend the lawful and much needed DACA program on review in higher courts. You know, they want this to stay in place because, you know what it is? They love the cheap labor they get from these immigrants, especially the ones that come over south of the border. You know, it's exploitation. We know it is. And they are flooding them in the country. And if you notice, they're getting all the preferential treatment over the black citizens. I mean, this is one of the biggest complaints coming out of Chicago and New York. You know, the people that are born and raised here are being ignored, and these DACA recipients and all these immigrants flooding in here, they're doing everything for them. So a lot of people don't like the DACA program, and I know it's been challenged 2 other times when it first came out. Now, I don't know what the revisions are that Joe Biden made, but, you know, of course he's all upset. He came out to criticize the ruling the judge made, and, you know, so they're trying to do their damage control. The Biden administration said they are deeply disappointed in DACA's ruling from the district court in southern Texas. This is according to the press secretary, Corinne Jean-Pierre. She said in a statement Wednesday, and as we have long maintained, we disagree with the district court's conclusion that DACA is unlawful, and we will continue to defend the critical policy from legal challenges while we do so consistent with the court order. So they have no choice but to go along with it and just try to challenge it in court at another time. The DHS will continue to process renewals for current DACA recipients, and DHS will continue to accept DACA applications. The Texas Attorney General's office, which represents the states in the lawsuit, and the U.S. Department of Justice, which represented the federal government, didn't immediately return emails or calls for comment. So, I mean, this is what happened today. So, y'all have to tell me what you think. Unfortunately, this is what the Democratic Party focuses heavily on, are immigrants, you know, and they're going to always do this, y'all. You know, we sit on these videos and we talk about how the Democratic Party don't represent, and especially the CBC, they don't represent their biggest voting bloc, which is the black community, and they largely just spend their time in office ignoring us, and we see them doing everything for the immigrants. You know, a lot of people see it as a big slap in the face, and you know, it's another reason why it's turning people off from voting for the Democratic Party. So,
Boom.
You see Joe Biden very vocal about how disappointed he is, but he sure won't say nothing about reparations, will he?
Nope.
And he sure won't say nothing about a crime bill for us. He sure avoid those issues. He don't come out in the press like he did this time around when DACA was ruled illegal by a federal judge. We can only judge you by your actions. Y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave.
So, people out here who ever come across my video, share with your family and friends. And if you're not non-black and you're American citizen, share with your friend. This is the truth. But to my black Americans out there, now you see. And those who you voted for, look in Chicago right now. Look at New York right now. Look at possibly Atlanta right now. Look at all these other cities and states. And look who's okaying the policies. They allow this stuff to happen. But they won't hear your voice. But you get laid off, and then I believe in Texas, they have in different places, Black Americans are getting put out and eventually higher than one of the other races. So you're a working class black person, you get put out, and your representatives ain't fighting for you. But what they do is that they send the entertainers, they go to your pastors, because they be like, oh, look at those colored people. What do those colored people like? Oh, they're very musical. Well, we'll bring in a party. Oh, and they're very religious too. Who was the local reverend down there that would listen to them? And come on now, then here they come with the same stuff. We've been on this plantation long now, because we don't want that President Trump get back in office, and they're gonna use the thing about what happened at January 6th and everything. And then if you hear what January 6th, at the time, he told people go home. He did not tell them to them people did that on their own. He done everything he can do, but I'm not a really Trump fan, but I heard what the man said. He said it was some very good people. You gotta learn to listen to people. And he told us this stuff. He told that what was coming from, but people say that he's being racist or something like that. But when it comes to some of us, we don't like someone directly telling us. And some people no, let's hide our prejudice so that the other races don't know. This is what some Republicans and Democrats do. They're hiding it from you. But at the same time, they hand pick their favorite black person, like no matter Kamala Harris or Tim Scott, because they pay them. Don't you see this stuff? That's why it matters. And it's the truth. But at least vote independent. I rather vote. I'm voting independent. If I'm going to vote independent. You don't have to vote for the Democrat, Republican. You see, they put it in your face. You're not even a priority. Here your generations since the time of slavery, and they won't even honor it. And then they take the fund and take the business out of your neighborhood, take the funding out of your neighborhood, and they select their person that select their black candidate to keep you bound. Some bougie person, some handkerchief head Negro, and now you're stuck. And your generation, that's why you can't get out the bound. And you hear what that story was. The stats are right there. They're right there in your face. Black people, you hearing me? Holler if you hear me. They put it in your face. That's why, and I really came talk to some family members about this, because they don't know, because they stepped back in time. They don't understand the time we living in right now. Why people can't get ahead? Why is all these unnecessary things, crime and lack of nutrition, lack of resources, lack of access? People can't put two and two together. They can't put two and two together of what's going on. They put in your face. These parties are put in your face, and that's what they do. And they prey on to you. And you see how he showed up because all you do is give entertainment, and that's what they know you by. Biden is the most hitting and bigoted person I've ever seen. If we're gonna say Trump is big, I heard a black man say, I rather see what kind of bigot he coming from. At least he's direct. He don't hide the shit. He don't care. But you got some black people that are sensitive and other people that are sensitive. Oh, I can't believe he said that. But yet here you have Joe Biden say, well, if you don't vote me, you're not black. Oh, well, he was just kidding. But you see how he really is? You see how he really is. And look what's going on even with this situation right now. Sending money all over the doggone world. Look at what he's doing. As American citizens, they're getting, and you're part of the American citizens that is being homeless. You're suffering. Programs are suffering that to help to uplift you as the American citizen, which you paid for 20, 30, 40 years of taxes going like other people. And this getting right in, he don't care. This is your tax dollar. They start these. That's why it lays all this stuff up. And meanwhile, you got this guy over in Ukraine getting billions and billions of dollars, while Americans like in places like Europe is suffering. Ain't that something? Because it's the same problem. At least with Europe, some people in Europe, when it comes to illegal immigration, they don't play that crap. It's like, look, you got to get the heck up out of here. At least Israel will have the balls to do that. America don't have the balls to do that. Yeah, when it was illegal immigrants showing up in Israel, they gone. They in certain parts of Europe, they gone. It ain't no question about it. They select that party, get in, that party, and they out. It ain't all this, all that, all this. No, this is the way it go. Get your stuff out. And some of the citizens retain that. They're already struggling, and here they doing the same thing they doing over in America. All these people are crossing illegally over the border, and they do the right thing. They do try to patch them up, but they patch them up, whatever. But they got to come through a process. They have to come through a certain process, even in Europe. But Americans let's get everybody something. Meanwhile, our country's sinking down. They're literally sinking. Everybody's suffering, trying to save somebody else. Even the military is about to suffer. They don't even have enough weapons. They ain't gonna have enough manpower because you're trying to help out and trying to save Israel, trying to sell, in which they already have the technology and the weapons. They already, and then you can send billions and billions of a package over to Ukraine. Then somehow you ain't making the lead over Ukraine. Where all this money going? You don't hear nothing about it. Where all these weapons going? It's probably going to other people. And that's your tax dollar. Your federal tax is Biden them sitting over there. Sitting. And you a fool if you put him back in the White House. You a fool. Because that's all this stuff coming down to. And America is crashing. America is literally crashing. And we're one of the groups of people as American citizens, based on ethnic, we are suffering the worst. And calm the black people down now. They handpick the ones. Your black caucus ain't doing nothing about it. Nobody ain't doing nothing. But they can do everybody else. Meanwhile, millions of them. It's everybody else but black people. And this is what the black media's been trying to tell you. Then you try to tell some people it's waking up. Now you have to see it. You have to see the whole plan. And then there's white other people suffering too now. There's other people gonna suffer, but you're one of the main ones that's suffering. And why they gotta keep coming back to you? We got 20 different nationalities of people. Why they gotta keep coming back to a black American? Why? They always focus. Do you ever ask yourself that? Why is it that? Why don't you go to these other communities? But when because here we go. They come to Minister Paul. So we all God's people. Yeah, we all God's people. But some of the people, they don't. Yeah, they'll laugh and snicker and smirk. Yeah, we all God's people. We gonna get, but as long as we get our resources, we good, right? Just keep on doing your thing, black people. Just keep on entertaining us with your religious songs and dance and stuff. That's all you do. I'm just telling you, they put it in your face. But when it comes to your needs and your future of your children's need, like other people here, they slap you in the face. Or you being racist, they put a black representative with a white mindset. This is what happened in that certain party. So no matter if it's Democrat or Republican, they both are the same bird. Some people say that that's very true. Meanwhile, millions of other people in those cities, from Chicago to New York and other places, are suffering because of that, who are already homeless, never got the help, got laid off from their job, laid off, kicked off assistance. Now they're on the streets. Gonna be cold. Gonna be a cold winter on this administration. So they have to suffer. Many people, low to middle class, have to suffer. This you can't make this up. You just can't. You can't make this up. But all right then. I hope you enjoyed this video. But yeah, the bottom line is you better know what you're voting for. It's either us or them. And if anything you can learn from the white people, black people, if it ain't about your priority, don't vote. You have to think like that. It's the survival or your resource or your children's resources. And that's how some white people think. That's why they make them answer questions. It ain't about no sin or entertainment when you go out in these rural areas, these suburban areas. What you gonna do? And that's the same thing we should do. Because instead of sleeping and song and doing a line chicken dance is over. Because this is what Biden is doing in his administration and some of these Republicans doing. And if they do it at the White House, they make sure they don't do it at your state house. So this time, research your candidate, where they stand, who they're voting for. Because when these people come into town, in your state, in your city, as a party, that's what it comes down to. Let your voice be heard this November. You see the situation right now. You see it in your city. You don't live in those cities. It's coming to your city. It's coming to your town, because they keep flooding the border. So there's too many people. What they're going to send to neighboring states. Then it's neighboring states, Well, what we gonna do? Well, we can sanctuary city down here, and if you live in them other sanctuary cities, you're screwed. It's just a matter of time, because New York and Washington D.C. and Chicago can't handle that many. So what's gonna happen? They're coming to a town and city near you. So who you vote for, see where they stand at, makes a big difference. Are they for the American people, or are they for everybody else? That's the question. Just like with other country counterpart, are they for you, or are you for everybody else? You for everybody else, you out the office. You out. Don't matter what cut, and don't let them play. Don't let them play this. This is not about stop. They play the race card with you. This is about survival. It's about resources and benefits. It's time to fight for your own people. That's what it comes down to. Because you see what these politicians are really about. It's about resources, and that's why you have different individuals trying to tell you. That's why Mr. Dr. Claude Anderson was trying to tell you this. He's trying to tell you because he was at the political level. And for a black man to kind of tell you up top, like, hey, you need to line up. You just okay. Now you see. So listen to the black media and other ones that bring you the truth of what's going on. Don't and get it from the ground down, because some of these other major platforms on TV ain't telling you the whole story. Think about it, and that's true. All right, then. You guys have a good one. Be blessed. Until next time, see you on the next video.